Nursery still has a large selection of container trees and shrubs. Visit Miss M's and Sundown Gardens to save between 20 and 40% off through the 15th of October. Miss M's Home and Garden on State Road 135 south of Whiteland Road in Bargersville. Sundown Gardens at 186th and Spring Mill Road in Westfield.
Children are placed in foster care through no fault of their own. Because of abuse or neglect, it's heartbreaking.
We were just left in a hotel.
Tay and his brothers were adopted with help from the Dave Thomas Foundation for Adoption. But more than 100,000 children in the U.S. are still waiting for a family.
Now that I'm adopted, I can focus on being a kid.
Learn how you can help at davethomasfoundation.org.
If you can plan barbecues and weddings, you can plan to protect yourself from a natural disaster. Sign up for local alerts, prepare an emergency kit, and make a family communications plan. Get started at ready.gov/plan.
Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
You keep lying when you ought to be truthing. And you keep losing when you ought to not bet.
You're listening to Saturday Night on the Circle on 93 WIBC.
Now what's right is right, but you ain't been right yet.
Welcome back, Indianapolis, to another exciting edition of Saturday Night on the Circle. I, of course, am your humble host, Ethan Hatcher. Happy to return after a long sojourn, a sabbatical away from the show due to sportsgetball preemptions the past 2 weeks, but I'm happy to be back. And boy, there was a lot of news to get into. We have upheaval in House leadership as a change is imminent, potentially as soon as next week. A couple of possibilities come to mind. Also, Matt Gaetz on a roll and corruption at the height of the United States Senate, but we already knew that. We'll get into all of that for the first segment. But first, producer Carl, who's always dutifully pushing the buttons, beep, 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 to make the show function. However, I notice that my camera seems to be misplaced. What have you done to the YouTube feed, Carl?
The question
what
is,
have you done?
What have the other shows done?
Oh, are we blaming Rob for this?
I come into this room and the cameras aren't working and wires are missing. People, when you change something, put things back.
Yeah.
For goodness sakes.
Yeah, if we're going to hold the weekend crew to that standard, then everybody at the station gets held. What's going on here? We have a whole engineering department for this stuff. Carl, are you telling me that this has been this way the whole week?
The crime level in Indianapolis is so high.
They came up here and
I
took
would
the
believe
cords.
that somebody came and stole our wires.
All right. Well, I guess we'll have to make do with the setup in the meantime. But thank you for tuning in. You can hop in the YouTube chat, of course, while the show is streaming live. We are broadcasting there. And find podcasts uploaded to WIBC.com, as well as Saturday Night on the Circle.fireside.fm. But the big news from the week that was a surprise to everybody was the ousting of Kevin McCarthy in an effort led by Matt Gaetz and a small band of rabble-rousing Republicans, 8 in all, who voted and succeeded in removing the speaker from office. He was effectively recalled on Tuesday, sending House leadership into a spiral. This moment was caught on C-SPAN.
The yeas are 216. The nays are 210. The resolution is adopted. Without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid on the table. The office of Speaker of the House of the United States House of Representatives is hereby declared vacant.
Just like that, with a simple bang of the gavel, the leadership removed, I believe, 9 disastrous months of Kevin McCarthy at the helm. Yes, since January, all gone in the blink of an eye. And there was much rejoicing. Now, a couple of possibilities for a change in leadership. This is a surprise. Nobody expected a rare, random act of accountability from the Republican Party. But here, lo, behold, Matt Gaetz held his feet to the fire for not controlling the profligate spending of Washington, which was one of his charges upon taking office. Kevin McCarthy, in his short record, has been abysmal. As a California Republican, he's maintained those profligate levels of spending that has been the scourge of U.S. taxpayers for a few decades now. And we need to get this under control as we're approaching $32 trillion of the national deficit, which is obscene. So yes, a change in leadership is warranted as long as something productive is obtained. Now, we could have Jim Jordan, who's heading up the House Judiciary Committee, would be an interesting replacement. We could have a Hakeem Jeffries. So, kind of a best case and worst case scenario, if you will. How humiliating would it be if somehow Hakeem Jeffries was elected House Speaker when Republicans control the majority? We cannot have this. So Donald Trump also was a name bandied about. However, due to House rules and his hangups in court, he is not eligible at the moment. But he threw his weight behind Jim Jordan. I think potentially we could get something productive out of this. And earlier, producer Carl, you'll recall my immense skepticism regarding Republicans' ability to move forward with impeachment following an inquiry. That was under Kevin McCarthy's leadership. Now, on the other hand, Jim Jordan has given us some delightful sound bites in his role as House Judiciary Committee, holding the Biden crime family to account. Will that reflect itself in his House speakership? Who knows?
Well, the main complaint about Jim Jordan has always been that he's just doing stuff to get on Fox News. And now we actually can see, will he follow through and impeach him? It's
time to put up or shut up. And he was on Fox News talking about why he had the change of mind. Of course, he was also suggested, I believe, also by Matt Gaetz in January, if you recall. But at the time, he didn't want the position. Now, things have changed, and he was on the Fox Morning Show and answered why he's had that change of heart.
Congressman, great to see you. You were on the fence the night of the ouster. What changed your mind to say, I want to be Speaker?
You need someone who can unite the conference, and I think just as importantly, unite the conservative and Republican movement across this country. That's what I think I can do. That's why I'm running for the job. I like the job I had. Chairman of the Judiciary Committee, chairman of the Select Committee on the Weaponization of Government, doing the work there. But I do think we have to have someone who can bring our team together. I think I'm best equipped to do that.
I love the humble politician act, don't you, producer Carl? I mean, like, oh, well, golly, I just think I'm the best person to bring the party together. How convenient. No, it's the power. It's the unlimited power that one can wield with their position as the House Speaker, because you set the agenda. So yes, I would be thrilled if we get some conservative leadership out of this change. I don't think that the chaos will have been for naught in that circumstance. Only time will tell. Steve Scalise also angling for leadership, and Trump's endorsement may poison the well against against Jim Jordan. Who knows? Of course, Donald Trump has been complimentary of Kevin McCarthy because Kevin McCarthy has said nice things about him. And I quote, it's a mess right now, but that was the big mover and shaker in the news this week. Gaetz has been on a roll. The Tuesday before he led the successful charge against Kevin McCarthy and successfully ousting him as Speaker, he made this sick burn about Bob Menendez, who is currently embroiled in scandal.
You are your record. And our record in this country right now is $33 trillion in debt, facing $2 trillion annual deficits. We're in so much debt. We're driving up deficits so fast. We are devaluing American money so rapidly that in America today, you can't even bribe Democrat senators with cash alone. You need to bring gold bars to get the job done, just so that the bribes hold value.
Boom. Roasted.
So I know many of you are familiar with this, but again, I was preempted by the sports get ball for the last couple of weeks. So I wanted to cover the unsealed indictment against Bob Menendez that was revealed Tuesday, the 22nd, or September 22nd, where the FBI had raided his home dating back to June of last year. And among the possessions discovered in his wife's safe, at least 13 gold bars worth at least $100, plus nearly $400,000 in cash, and the fingerprints of the business and associates they were allegedly involved in this scandal with were all over the physical money in the safe. So, let's just say it doesn't look good. And Bob Menendez, in true corrupt Democrat fashion, refusing to relinquish his power. He stepped down from his committee assignments, but still holding the governor or the Senate office and maintaining his innocence, down to the bitter end. In the meantime, there's a lot of speculation about who may potentially replace him, as he is likely to ultimately either lose his election or step down or be removed in one way or another. And Chris Christie was asked point blank if he intends to take that position.
But let me ask you point blank, would you run against Senator Menendez? But would you run against Senator Menendez if you don't win in the fall?
What? No.
No, I have no interest in being in the United States Senate.
You rule it out completely?
Yes, I have. I've had throughout my entire career.
Now that's comedy.
Bullcrap. I'm calling bullcrap on that right now, producer Carl, because I am telling you that any of these schmucks, he is schmoozing for the highest office in the land. He would definitely be thrilled to be one of the 100 most powerful people in the United States legislature.
Yeah,
in the Senate.
And I heard that there are free donuts in the Senate chamber hall. So
yes. Now the reason why he's saying that is because he knows he would lose. Much like Mike Pence in Indiana, he is, a persona non grata, even in his own state. Which, how embarrassing is that for the former governor?
Yeah, I wanted to say that senators are representatives of their states, and what better representative of New Jersey can you get than Bob Menendez, the state, the home of the Sopranos, right?
Yeah, well, except Tony, I think, had more sense than to stash the cash under his mattress. He put it in the bird feeder.
Exactly.
With the bird food. Anyway. Thanks for tuning into Saturday Night on The Circle. We've got a lot more content to come. Coming up next, friend of the show, Abdul Shabazz, joins us for a conversation going over his poll results in Marion County among likely voters about the state of the election. Of course, polls just a snapshot of a moment in time, and we'll be discussing that moment with him up next.
We feel.
Do you feel like we do? Feel it as soon as you step out the door.
What you feel.
Bundle up. Feels like winter.
It's gonna be more like summertime.
Do you feel like we do?
All the feels.
It feels a little like winter.
Feels more like summer.
Of fall.
It's kind of the clash of two seasons.
Weather. Mornings and afternoons.
The ebbs and flows this time of the year is so evident.
On your official fall weather station. 93 WIBC.
Leaves falling and getting stuck in your drains and gutters? Sounds like it's time for some maintenance, and who to call is a no-drainer. Call my friends at Hope Plumbing. They're the experts in the industry and trustworthy plumbers who care about the health and safety of your home. During the month of October, Hope is offering a $49 mainline cleaning with a free camera inspection. So leave your worries behind this fall and call Hope Plumbing at 641-HOPE today to schedule your $49 mainline cleaning.
We see it every day online, tragedy of some sort, and our kids see it too. This message is brought to you by the Indiana Youth Institute. Now more than ever, our youth need our support, even if they don't experience an event firsthand. Talking about what is going on can help them understand and feel safe. When talking to our youth about tragedy, use gentle words, offer comfort, and encourage them to share their worries. And remember, our youth could be experiencing fear, shock, anger, anxiety, and grief. These reactions are all normal, and their age will likely affect how they handle the stress. Be patient with support as your child grieves. However, if the child continues to display strong reaction for more than 2 to 4 weeks, they might need more help coping. This Kids Count Minute is a message from the Indiana Youth Institute. For more parent tips, go to IYI.org/kids.
Kids count on you.
After I got out of the Marine Corps, coming back home, it was just a mental breakdown for me. I was on the verge of giving up. That chapter, that season in my life was over. Now what? Who was I? That's what I kept asking myself. The pressure to have it all together, to heal, to quiet down the monsters inside, it was too much. I lost it. I had heard about the Wounded Warrior Project. I had seen the logo and that visual of a warrior carrying another warrior. The programs that the Wounded Warrior Project offers, it's not just the veteran themselves, it's their whole family. It brings it all together. We have scars that we carry, and just because the scars are there doesn't mean that we're any less than what we were. Right now, I'm the best version that I ever have been of myself. I can embrace the brokenness.
You wouldn't go into battle alone. You don't have to fight this alone. Visit woundedwarriorproject.org/notalone.
The Supplemental Security Income Program provides monthly payments to help meet basic needs, like putting food on the table, paying the rent, or buying new shoes for growing feet. You may qualify if your income and financial resources are low, and you are 65 or older, or an adult or child with a disability, or who is blind. Call 1-800-772-1213 or go to ssa.gov/SSI to start to apply. Produced by Social Security at U.S. taxpayer expense.
Austin Center here, driver of the Discount Tire, number 2 Ford Mustang, and 2022 NASCAR Cup Series Rookie of the Year. Having the right tire pressure on the racetrack is crucial to my success. Tire pressure is also critical to keeping you safe on the road. Whether it's for safe stopping distances in all seasons or getting the best gas mileage, you want to keep your vehicle's tires properly inflated. Check your tire pressure at least once a month or stop by a local tire retailer for an air check.
A message from the U.S. Tire Manufacturers Association.
There are 48 million unpaid family caregivers in the United States. Visit aarp.org/caregiving to access a free guide to help navigate your caregiving journey.
Through their service, veterans have our backs. Now we should have theirs. Learn more at gotyoursix.org.
This is Saturday Night on the Circle on 93 WIBC.
Hello and welcome back to Saturday Night on the Circle, where I am your bespectacled curmudgeon, Ethan Hatcher. Thanks for joining us. Don't miss the podcasts uploaded to SaturdayNightOnTheCircle.fireside.fm and WIBC.com. Hop in the comments while we're streaming live on the YouTube. We enjoy seeing you there, as always. Now, the numbers are in, and the prognosis is poor for the anemic performance of Mayor Joe Hogsett's Republican challenger to the Indianapolis race for the city's executive office. Here to help dissect the findings is the one and only professor and professional provocateur, the pugnacious publisher and pundit, the outrageous and often ostentatious, unforgettable Abdul Hakim Shabazz joins the show once again. Hello, my friend.
You wrote all that down. Not bad. I just wrote myself with a cocktail napkin. Here are the numbers, folks.
Hot off another successful night at WIBC, by the way. It was a pleasure to see you there. Always a fun time, man, and we had a great crowd.
Always good.
So you had this poll conducted in Indianapolis regarding the state of the mayor's race, and it reveals a few interesting things, but why don't you lay out your findings for our audience?
Sure. Me and my friends at Crossword Public Affairs, we got together with our pollster, ARW Strategies. We've used them in the past before, and they've actually been really good. And we polled, we want to see what does the mayor's race look like. Now, before we get started here, I'll remind people, polls are not predictions.
Right.
They're
snapshot of a moment in time.
Snapshot of a moment in time. However, you get enough of those snapshots together, you can put together a full picture and see how things are trending. With that said, we polled 400 likely voters here in Marion County, and Joe Hogsett is ahead 10 points, 47-37 over Jefferson Shreve. However, what's interesting is the number one, Joe's under 50%, which we thought was an interesting number to be a third term.
Right.
Going for a third term. But also, there were like 17% of voters undecided. Now, that tells me that while they are crazy about Joe Hogsett, because early voting starts like Tuesday, Wednesday of next week, Jefferson Shreve hasn't sealed the deal yet with those undecided voters.
So what you're saying is that he's got a shot, and the fact that there are so many undecided voters, I think, kind of speaks to the underperformance of Joe Hogsett. But in many ways, Jefferson Shreve has blundered the opportunity. Like, I hear him running these ads on WIBC now, the "I am responsible" quote from Joe Hogsett about the state of Indianapolis and the rise in crime and the unsolved murder rate. And I think it's a very effective message. But why didn't you lead with that? Like, I understand you save your best for last, but that doesn't mean the inverse is true and you lead with your worst first. Don't do that.
Well, it's interesting because when Jefferson ran in the primary against yours truly, he basically ran ads against Joe Hogsett in the primary. I expect him to continue that after the primary was done and over. But at the same time, though, like I said, with the early voting getting underway next week, it's like being a lawyer, which ironically I am, and it's like making the case to the jury. It's got to have a strong closing argument. You got to hit hard and repeat that message over and over and over and over again.
But he's got to win like all of the undecided voters to make this a reality. And what are the odds of that in Indianapolis? Because even if they're like disenfranchised by Joe Hogsett and they don't like the state of Indianapolis, which I think your poll revealed, right? They don't agree with the trajectory of Indianapolis by and large.
54% of our respondents thought the city was on the wrong track.
Okay, but does that translate to them then not walking into the voters booth and hitting all Democrat?
Here's the analogy. Here's the analogy.
That's the problem.
Here's the analogy that I use on when I did an interview with Rob Kendall and also spoke to Jason at Hammer and Nigel.
You're in high demand as usual.
Exactly. It is when my wife and I first kind of started going out 15 years ago. She was kind of dating a guy. So I had to convince her, in order to get her to go out with me, I had to do two things. Number one, convince her that guy was a butthole. And number two, I was better. I succeeded in the first part. The second part, I'm still working on 15 years later. In other words, you convinced this guy's bad, okay, fine, but give me a reason to vote for you.
Well, I think there might be one place that your analogy falls short, Abdul, which is incredible because you usually are dead on. But you didn't have to apologize for wronging your wife going into this deal, right?
Oh, yes, I did.
Oh, you did? Okay, well, never mind.
I apologize, my friend, every day.
Well, but this is what Jefferson Shreve would essentially have to do to his voting base, who he is disenfranchised with these terrible ideas that he led with, basically right out of the gate after winning the primaries.
What I would do if I was Jefferson Shreve is I would say, look, you may not agree with me on the gun issue. However, the other 80% of things we do agree on. We agree the city's going in the wrong direction. We agree we need new leadership. I wouldn't necessarily apologize, but we can work together to figure out how to keep guns out of the hands of people who shouldn't have them.
So this is the Reagan theory of governance. If I can get 80% of what I want, then we can, come together.
Nobody gets 100%.
Okay, but you need the 100% of your Republican base, and you need the undecided voters on top of this.
And that's going to be Shreve's challenge over the next 30 days and change.
I'm just not sure it's there. Well, and I guess we'll find out.
Well, the other analogy I use too is I said I have to put on my geek hat here, and it's the closing scene in Star Wars.
I love this analogy.
It's Luke Skywalker. He's got to fly down a Death Star canyon to blow up the photon torpedoes in the exhaust pipe. The problem is Han Solo took the money to go pay Jabba the Hutt. The Force is not strong with Luke, and somebody in the Empire. Hey, how about we cover up this exhaust port? Good luck.
Well, is this the first Death Star or the second where they have the gaping hole in the side? Because the second you had that whole shaft that you could fly right down the middle.
No, this is just the first one.
Okay, there we go.
And the second was still under construction.
Now, we have a couple things to consider with the mayor's race coming up. Now, early voting is starting when? I forget
Wednesday.
the date.
I believe Wednesday.
Okay, Wednesday. And then we have the first, what they're billing is the first mayor's debate, which implies there are going to be more of them.
There'll be three of them all together. The first one I want to say is Sunday.
I thought it was Monday the 23rd, I believe.
Oh, no, the first debate is going to be Sunday, then there's one on the 23rd, then Fox 59 is doing one as well.
Oh, okay.
Which TV and Fox News are both doing debates.
Okay, great. But then I also think that there is the hearing on the 19th for the Joe Hogsett divorce.
Actually, that has been canceled.
That has been canceled?
Yeah, I believe they settled. I believe they reached some kind of settlement because I just checked it a few minutes ago.
Okay.
And I believe they've settled. So there won't be, that hearing has been canceled.
A bit of breaking news then, because that was potentially hazardous for, talk about an October surprise, in the weeks before an election. One might speculate that Mrs. Hogsett is rather upset.
Well, my thing is when Stephanie filed for her divorce 6 weeks before the election, I was like, hey, I don't know what Joe did, but she must have been really, really ticked off.
That's what I'm saying.
And really, really sent a message. Now, I heard all sorts of rumors I'm not going to get into because nothing's been verified as to why she filed so mad and so quickly. But apparently something was going on that she filed right away.
Well, there's a lot of that's the thing about the Hogshead administration. There's a lot of rumors that have surrounded his beleaguered administration, but the fact that Jefferson Shreve hasn't sealed the deal is very disconcerting. And I still plan to write you in essentially because I didn't forgive him for coming right out of the gate in the primaries with those terrible ideas regarding gun control, which isn't even plausible for the mayor's office to achieve. Like that just is bad posturing to me, and it ticked me off.
Yes,
bad.
But without some sort of third-party confirmation, proof, evidence, you really can't kind of run with that stuff. Sorry.
But okay, so like Jefferson Shreve, he's got a few weeks to seal the deal. In your mind, what does he need to do to make that a reality then?
Is I would hit that cry message over and over and over again. And I'd basically in a nutshell, I'd say, folks, guess what? 8 is enough. We've had 8 years of Joe Hogshead. What do we got to show for it? It's time for change. It's time for a new mayor, time for a new direction in the city of Indianapolis.
And speaking of rumors, should he or does he lean into the question, where was Joe Hogshead during the riots of 2020 during the debates?
I would not be surprised if that comes up during the debates.
Okay.
I'll just leave it at that.
Well, I'm going to be watching with rapt attention, my friend.
Hey.
Thanks for coming on the show.
Hey, thank you.
You're listening to 93 WIBC, Saturday night on The Circle. We got more on the way coming up.
Tony Katz.
I alphabetized my soundboard. Well, I'm sorry, you didn't hear that. F?
Fat, drunk, and stupid is no way to go through life, son.
I have to go to S for Sopranos. Makes sense.
Yeah, I think you got it.
It's so clean now. It's fantastic. Yeah, we have clearly run out of things to talk about. There's nothing else going on in the world.
It's a great world, everything's so.
This show is stupid.
Tony Katz, mornings 6 to 9 on 93 WIBC and WIBC.com.
Have you saved enough? Do you have a plan for Social Security and taxes in retirement? Hey, Casey Weed of Howard Bailey Financial, where our mission is to help you gain clarity and purpose and elevate meaning in your life through personal and practical financial strategies. That's why we want to give you our Retire with Purpose toolkit at no cost. In it, you'll find valuable information on minimizing taxes, maximizing Social Security, and building a retirement income you can't outlive. Plus, you'll receive a copy of my book, Job Optional. To get your complimentary toolkit, call or text the keyword INFO 42 to 866-482-9559. That's INFO 42 to 866-482-9559.
Howard Bailey Financial is the official wealth management partner of Notre Dame Athletics. Notre Dame Athletics was compensated for this endorsement and is not a current client of Howard Bailey. For more information, please visit howardbailey.com/ND disclosure. Investment advisory services may be offered through Howard Bailey Securities LLC, a registered investment advisor. Working with Howard Bailey Securities LLC cannot guarantee investment success or that specific financial goals will be achieved.
Go with your gut. Go with Dynavite. 70% of your dog's immune system is based in the gut. So for overall health, good nutrition is vital. But how can you be sure your dog is getting the nutrition they need? A diet lacking proper nutrients can present issues like itching, scratching, and a weak immune system. However, there is a solution. DINOVITE. Dynavite is the delicious nutritional supplement created to boost your dog's overall health. And the reviews are incredible.
Poor Sam. He was a mess, always itching. Probably 2 weeks after he started Dynavite, I started to see improvements, and today 99% of his issues are non-existent.
Right now, try Dynavite for free. Just pay shipping and handling. Learn more at Dynavite.com/radio. That's DINOVITE.com/radio.
Happier, healthier with every bite. Over 1 million pets helped with Dynavite.
Fox News, I'm Ann Carrick. Hundreds are dead after a surprise attack on Israel by Hamas. Several Israelis were taken hostage. Military officials believe they will be used as human shields inside Gaza. Israeli ambassador to the UN, Gilad Erdan, reacting on Fox News Live.
This is our 9/11. This is our 9/11. We are committed to change the equation, to shatter the old paradigm. These animals will pay a heavy price, and they will learn that these atrocities cannot be committed again against our civilians.
Israel declaring war and responding to the terrorist attack. In Afghanistan, 15 dead and more injured after two 6.3 magnitude earthquakes plus aftershocks, both near the border with Iran. America's listening to Fox News.
The Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council present the story of Tom and Levi.
Tom is the smartest man I know. He's been a professor at 2 major universities, been a teacher for over 40 years. One day, he told me that he was having problems in his classes. I think one of the students had asked the question and he didn't remember the answer. And I also noticed that he was letting his class out earlier than they were supposed to let out. And he was telling them that he was doing it as a favor to them, but I think in reality, he just wanted to get out of there. I was really starting to worry because I saw something was wrong.
Levi and I talked about how it would change our lives, but he was there beside me, and my love for him was just immense.
When something feels different, it could be Alzheimer's. Now is the time to talk. Visit alz.org/ourstories to learn more. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Before I was adopted, I felt alone.
I felt nervous that I wouldn't have a family.
I was getting older and older. I didn't think I was going to get adopted.
With help from the Dave Thomas Foundation for Adoption, Lexi, Connor, and LaShawna now have a forever family and the foundation for a bright future.
When I was adopted, it was like, wow, I get to settle, and this is permanent.
After I was adopted, I felt happy.
Adoption changed me for the better. I feel like I can be whoever I want to be.
Every child deserves a safe, loving, and permanent home. Help the Dave Thomas Foundation for Adoption find forever families for children who have been lingering in foster care the longest. Learn more at davethomasfoundation.org.
You're listening to Saturday Night on the Circle on 93 WIBC.
This week, we descend into the depths of cringy, awkward moments as a U.S. general desperately scrambles in search of respect, only to be denied in exceptionally humiliating fashion. Also, we reflect on a moment where Donald Trump was asked the simplest of questions, yet failed spectacularly to answer convincingly. You'll also hear our current executive short circuit on live TV as his stamina further diminishes before the eyes of our nation. You'll hear it all for this week's edition of Hat Tricks with Hatcher.
It's time for another one of Hatcher's Hat Tricks.
The story you are about to see is true. The names have been changed to protect the innocent.
You're listening to Saturday Night on the Circle, where I'm your host, Ethan Hatcher, and producer Carl, beep, 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 pushing those buttons and doing the things to make the show function. We begin with an awkward clip in which General Mark Milley was addressing a crowd, I believe, of graduates, and sought in vain for respect and admiration from the crowd, having in effect his own Jeb Bush moment.
My classmates from Princeton, so maybe we could hear you shout. That was pretty weak, actually, so not sure what to make of that. But I was made an honorary member of the class of 1980 from West Point, so all the West Point classmates, maybe we could hear from you. Oh. That's even weaker. Let me go back to Princeton.
Ooh.
Please clap.
So let me go back to Princeton. I think you hear the boo coming from the crowd. They know what's up. And could this have anything to do with the fact that the military doesn't resemble the military anymore? They got these virtue signaling recruitment ads. They have drag shows happening on military bases. What is going on? So yes, Mark Milley not getting love from from fellow members of his military, from his class, from West Point, from Princeton. It's sad because this is a United States general having to grovel for respect and admiration. Producer Carl, do you think if General Patton showed up to a class of graduates that he would have received that kind of reception?
It would have been so loud you wouldn't be able to hear Patton.
Right. Thunderous applause. And that's the kind of respect that a United States general should command. And it's sad to see the state of the military under the disastrous leadership of generals like Mark Milley and the Biden administration. Now, Donald Trump, he did an interview with Megyn Kelly a few weeks ago, and I'm sure many of you have already heard this clip, but I wanted to play it because it merits consideration, where he was asked a very simple question, yet was unable to provide a convincing response. And I thought this was really puzzling coming from the former president when he had this to say to Megyn Kelly.
Can a man become a woman?
In my opinion, you have a man, you have a woman. I think part of it is birth. Can the man give birth? No.
What is this, Producer Carl? Like, yeah, he mealy-mouthed his way, slow walk to a sort of halfway answer, but
in typical Donald Trump style, it's actually humorous the way that he answered things because, we can't give birth and...
But there's really only one correct way to answer the question. It's the easiest question to answer.
Can a man become a woman?
No, God! No, God! No! No! No!
That's how that should have gone, right? I mean,
yeah. I mean, he goofs on it at all of his rallies, but I don't know. He's thinking in his head, well, how's people going to react to it?
Well, look, it's not a complicated question, though, because I believe, I'm a libertarian, I believe people have the right to live the way they want to live, to perform the surgical alterations that they want to perform on themselves, provided that they are an adult and are able to consent to such modifications. That's fine. But that doesn't make you the thing. You can live and identify as a woman, but if you were biologically born a man, surgery doesn't make it so. It's a simple question to answer.
Yeah, but he's not a biologist, Ethan.
Right. Now also this happened at what a stinker of a second debate. But Chris Christie had one of the more memorable lines from the evening when he gave Donald Trump a new nickname.
And Donald Trump should be here to answer for that, but he's not. And I want to look at that camera right now and tell you, Donald, I know you're watching. You can't help yourself. I know you're watching, okay? And you're not here tonight, not because of polls and not because of your indictments. You're not here tonight because you're afraid of being on this stage and defending your record. You're ducking these things. And let me tell you what's going to happen. You keep doing that, no one up here is going to call you Donald Trump anymore. We're going to call you Donald Duck.
All right. Rim shot. I mean, okay, it landed a little bit flat, but Producer Carl, did you hear Donald Trump's reaction to that quote?
I missed it.
Here, we have Donald Trump's reaction.
Shut up! I can't stand it!
See?
Yeah, that's why I missed it. I wasn't watching cartoons.
Okay. So what else did we have? This was a New York woman who was talking about like the state of mental health in America. A state trooper was called to a New York Walmart because she was having a mental health crisis. This is contrary to what was speculated in social media, who assumed that she was shoplifting. But no, she starts smacking the officer, throwing merchandise at him, and is tackled to the ground and restrained and starts screaming.
No!
Crowd of people who are gathering. They're pointing. Some of them are laughing. She's writhing around on the ground. This is a heavier set woman. Things are jiggling. It's kind of sad. And we're having more frequent interactions like this with where police are essentially tasked to deal with the mental health crisis around America. We see it in cities like Indianapolis, just on our doorstep, where many of the homeless population and the vagrancy and minor broken window crimes around the city are committed by people with mental health problems, and the police officers are not in a position, they're not equipped to deal with that. And then when they're inevitably released back onto the streets, it invites these situations to happen again and tragedy to occur. So it's kind of a sad look at the state of America that was caught on film. And then you have administration officials who are completely gaslighting the public into saying, everything is fine. America is doing great. In fact, we have a president who's laser focused on improving your life.
This president has been so zeroed in, so laser focused on lowering costs for Americans, and we've done that. And a lot of the policies that the president has put forward are indeed popular. I mean, Bidenomics has worked so well that you have Republicans in their own districts, in their own states, taking credit for things that the president pushed forward, policies that the president has pushed forward, legislation that they didn't even vote for.
You have to get out of denial. I've had failure in my life, but one thing I'm not in is denial. You're in denial.
I'm not in denial.
Without a doubt, she's in denial.
There's so many things wrong, and yet everybody's in denial. Stop being in denial!
According to Karine Jean-Pierre, it's not a bug, it's a feature. Doesn't matter that the president is underwater with his popularity ratings. Everything's just fine. In fact, Republicans are trying to filch off of his success. What a macaroon, producer Carl. This is nonsense.
We play these clips every single week, and I was just thinking, how do we not hear laughter every time she puts this out?
Well, because the press corps is in on the joke. They understand, I mean, if this were in front of a crowd of people, yes, there would be laughter, mockery, probably a few tomatoes, well-deserved. But Joe Biden is himself short-circuiting on live TV. This week he blanked out, much like Mitch McConnell, much like Dianne Feinstein. These people are literally rotting on the vine before our eyes.
I mean, I get it, but...
Unedited.
If you just listen to what's going on around the world, there's reason for people to be concerned.
I mean, look, I think that Joe Biden is going to make it through the next presidential campaign. They can pump him through full of enough meth and formaldehyde to, get his shambling corpse across the finish line. But man, it is really questionable whether he would sojourn through a second term. He also botched a White House website this week in spectacular fashion.
studentaid.gov/save.
How embarrassing.
And it's incompetence at the highest echelon of leadership or the most meager, where I'm sure you also heard Jamal Bowman last weekend decided to pull the fire alarm to get into a vote in a comical display of stupidity, which he maintains was just, him earnestly trying to, get in to vote. He was just rushing and he thought the fire alarm was a doorknob.
I don't know why this has gotten so much attention. I was literally just in a rush to go vote, man. That's all it was.
Are you afraid of any repercussions, either from leadership or from legally from Capitol Police?
I mean, listen, I take responsibility for what I did, but like I said, I was in a rush to go vote, and, the investigation will sort everything else out.
Your intellect is as weak as your dollar. Failure is your destiny. You disrespect yourself and your nation. You are made of stupid.
If you can't tell the difference between a doorknob and a fire alarm, then you need to leave the Congress. Producer Carl, have you ever been confused by a doorknob and a fire alarm? They're in a red little box.
Yeah,
they have a lever. They're labeled in plain English. But I assume he can read. If he can vote, Jamal Bowman can read, can he not?
But Democrats oftentimes are so dumb, he might be telling the truth.
There we go.
It's coming from a party where there was a congressman that actually worried that the military ships off an island might tip the island over.
Well, hold on, producer Carl, because I think we have a soundbite in times like this. There we go.
Listen, if you don't qualify, mental illness is a political identity and always has been.
There we go. So goes to your theory. Thanks for listening to Saturday Night on the Circle. We got more on the way. Jefferson Shreve running a particularly desperate ad in an attempt to close the gap between him and Joe Hogsnot. We'll tell you about it coming up next. Stay tuned.
Kendall and Casey.
They found the aliens. The Mexican government whipped out these 2 alien corpses. 30% of their DNA is unknown. We found them in algae somewhere. This little corpse looks like something that Kev could make in about an hour.
Is that paper mache?
That's
exactly what it looks like. They got some Mod Podge on there.
Kendall and Casey. Weekdays 9 till noon on 93 WIBC and WIBC.com.
1 in 6 seniors faces the threat of hunger, and millions more live in isolation. Drop off a hot meal and say a quick hello. Volunteer for Meals on Wheels by donating your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org. This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
Hi, this is Denny Smith for ZeoRez, and you and I both know that the carpets and floors don't clean themselves. And in fact, they can get so bad that they're way scarier than any Halloween script could imagine. How about a gentle cleaning to soothe your home into a wonderful fall retreat with the patented ZR water? Really, it's a great time to clean the carpets, and it's quick and easy to schedule online. Nobody but ZeoRez has the patented electrolyzed ZR water that cleans with no soap, no harsh chemicals, and no residue to attract more dirt. They can even clean your ductwork to help you breathe easier. Duct cleaning improves the air quality in your home as well as the efficiency of your HVAC equipment. ZeoRez gets all the yuck out for a fresh fall cleaning with no tricks, just great technicians skilled in thoroughly cleaning up dirt and stains. Schedule online today at ZeoRezIndy.com and mention WIBC. You'll get 3 rooms of carpet clean starting at $149, and they'll give you a free hallway and $50 off air duct cleaning too. For a smarter, lasting clean and really easy scheduling, visit ZeoRezIndy.com.
Garage door problems? Call today for service today. Garage Doors of Indianapolis has been solving garage door problems for 33 years. Call today for service today. 875-4577. Garage Doors of Indianapolis services all makes of garage doors 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Call today for service today. Get it fixed right now. Call Garage Doors of Indianapolis at 875-4577 or visit doorstoday.com.
In the morning, call 875-4577.
Service today?
Today.
At Peterman Brothers, we know how critical AC can be to your comfort.
And we want to make sure you're comfortable in every season.
That's why right now when you install a qualifying AC system with Peterman Brothers, we'll include the furnace for free.
That's right, Indiana. The furnace is free.
And if you schedule today, we'll install your new system tomorrow, guaranteed.
Visit PetermanHVAC.com to schedule online in seconds.
Hi, my name is Dan Packard. I was on my way to work, and the gentleman behind me hit me. We called Morgan & Morgan. From that moment on, everything else Morgan & Morgan took care of. Morgan & Morgan did it all with literally one phone call.
Last year, more clients hired Morgan & Morgan than ever before. And after 35 years, we now have more offices, more staff, and more lawyers than any other injury firm in the world. Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
Hey, we're pretty social people at WIBC. You can find us all over social media. See what we're up to on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, and on YouTube. We're never more than just away. Just search for 93 WIBC. You're listening to Saturday Night on the Circle on 93 WIBC.
Welcome back to the show, ladies and gentlemen. This is Saturday Night on the Circle, and you'll recall in the last segment, I teased a particularly desperate cry from Jefferson Shreve as he attempts to close the gap between him and his Democratic opponent, the incumbent Mayor Joe Hogsnot. Now, he's running this ad to appeal to your love and concern for the fluffy animals. Jefferson Shreve, this is his new ad. See if you agree how desperate this is, producer Carl.
My wife, Mary, and I, we have a track record of supporting animal welfare, and I'll take that passion with me to the mayor's office and begin this work day one. Joe Hogsett has failed us, and he's failed the domestic animals and the system of care that we should deliver year over year.
Dogs and cats killed at the city's animal shelter because they don't have the staff to care for them.
The shelter, it's overcrowded. Animals are in crates, in offices, and in the hallways.
The conditions are deplorable at the Harding Street shelter and a direct result of Mayor Hogsett's lack of leadership. As mayor of Indianapolis, I will donate my salary to Friends of Any Animals. I'll take action on building a new shelter. I'll work toward a no-kill shelter. And I'll hire an additional veterinarian and vet techs.
We support Jefferson Shreve and his commitment to making our shelter and our city a better.
Okay. We get the point. Look, I support the animals, Carl. You know that I love kitties. I love dogs too. I think that the shelter should be built. We were griping about that a couple weeks ago on the show. The fact that they've poured nearly $15 million into this thing, $5 million into the remediation of the lot alone without breaking ground and setting a single brick. So yes, I think the city is grossly mismanaging the animal shelter, Jefferson, but there are more pressing problems, namely the crime, namely supporting the police officers. And this just comes off as an incredibly desperate, tone-deaf plea. Oh, care about the fluffy animals. I'll donate my whole paycheck to the animal shelter. Like, oh,
wait, Jefferson is a Southern belle?
That's why he sounds like for the purposes of this gripe. But yeah, I mean, okay, fine. I guess if he's elected mayor, cool. He's going to donate his money to the shelter. But there are more important problems. And this late in the campaign, it just seems like an emotionally manipulative attempt to gain your support. There was one important item of news, however. We had a fairly important passing in the Senate as a 90-year-old Dianne Feinstein passed away in her sleep last week.
Let the joyous news be spread. The wicked old witch at last is dead.
That's inappropriate, Producer Carl, don't be so garish. Don't be so gauche. We do not celebrate the demise of legislators on this. I can't. Harumph. I am shocked and offended that a clip like that would make it to the airwaves of WIBC. I apologize for Carl's indiscretion, dear listeners, because that was unfortunate. We mourn the passing of Dianne Feinstein. She was a titan of the Senate. Thanks
Titan of the broom.
Thanks for Carl. Thanks for listening to Saturday Night on the Circle, 93 WIBC. Stay tuned because coming up in the next hour, we have some updates about the Joe Hogsett campaign, why he has been absent from a few events, as well as the antics of a few YouTubers overseas. Stay tuned for that.
Denny Smith here for Sundown Gardens. It's the big fall sale at Sundown Gardens and Miss M's Home and Garden this week. 20 to 40% off nursery stock at Sundown Gardens and Miss M's. The nursery still has a large selection of container trees and shrubs. Visit Sundown Gardens and Miss M's to save between 20 and 40% off through the 15th of October. Sundown Gardens at 186th Street and Spring Mill Road in Westfield. Miss M's Home and Garden on State Road 135 south of Whiteland Road in Bargersville.
I'm Dwight Freeney, and my friend Eli is alive today thanks to someone who said yes to organ donation. When Eli was just 12 years old, he received a liver transplant that saved his life because someone just like you said yes to being an organ donor. His story and many others like his are why I have teamed up with Indiana Donor Network and Donate Life Indiana to help end the wait for life-saving organs. You can help. Say yes to being an organ donor next time you are at the BMV.
Possibilities are all around us. Everywhere we look, we see opportunity in unexpected places. And when we share our knowledge, vision, and connections, we turn great ideas into action in communities all around the world that we call home. Like transforming an old bus to feed hungry children, or providing life-saving equipment to those who need it most. From fighting disease to rebuilding schools, together we can make real change happen. We're Rotary. We are people of action. Get involved today at Rotary.org/action.
On the battlefield, there's a saying America's military men and women live by. Never leave a fallen warrior behind, ever. Off the battlefield, Wounded Warrior Project operates with the same goal. We leave no warrior behind. Wounded Warrior Project is a non-profit organization created to help our men and women returning home with the scars of war. Whether those scars are physical or mental, we're here to make sure that they heal. And whether it's helping those with post-traumatic stress disorder live a normal life again, or giving much-needed support to injured warriors in veterans' hospitals. Because no one deserves our help more than the men and women who risk their lives to keep us safe. Wounded Warrior Project. We never leave a fallen warrior behind, ever. Learn more about what we do at woundedwarriorproject.org.
Broadcasting from the Peterman Brothers Heating, Plumbing, and Electrical Studios, this is Indy's Mobile News, 93 WIBC. WIBC HD1 Indianapolis. The news starts now.
Israel now taking military action against Hamas. I'm Ann Carrick, Fox News. The Palestinian militant group launching thousands of rockets into Israel early Saturday near the border with Gaza. Hundreds dead, more than 1,000 injured. Fox's Trey Yingst is in southern Israel.
We are not sure what the plans of the Israeli military are about what will take place in the coming days, but there are many options on the table. One of them has to do with sending troops into Gaza, which is a real possibility given the significance of what occurred earlier today with more than 100 Israelis killed in a cross-border attack. The other possibility is Lebanon and Hezbollah getting involved in this fight. And it's certainly of a concern to Israeli officials, and it's part of the reason they are raising the posture here, because they want to ensure that if Iran or its proxies across the region decide to capitalize on this, that the army is prepared.
Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu declaring war and calling up reservists to respond. President Biden speaking with the Prime Minister, condemning the terrorist attacks.
Israel has the right to defend itself and its people. Full stop. There's never justification for terrorist attacks. And my administration's support for Israel's security is rock solid and unwavering.
Warnings being sent to civilians in Gaza to evacuate before military action begins. As Israel ramps up military response to those attacks by Hamas and rallies international support, former President Trump is commenting while speaking to supporters in Waterloo, Iowa.
The Israeli attack was made because we are perceived as being weak and ineffective and with a really weak leader, and we will discuss it in a few minutes. But isn't that a shame what's happening all over the world? Things are not what they were just 3 years ago.
President Biden addressing the nation earlier today, confirming U.S. support for Israel is rock solid. America is listening to Fox News.
Jason in the House, the Jason Chaffetz podcast. There is always someone doing something stupid somewhere. Dive deeper than the headlines and the party lines as I take on American life, politics, and entertainment. Join me, Jason Chaffetz, every Wednesday as I shed light on the news and make some predictions along the way. You never know who will drop in. Subscribe now on foxnewspodcast.com or wherever you download podcasts.
Connect to Fox News Audio on the Fox News app. Listen to hear your favorite hosts like Brian Kilmeade, Jimmy Fallon, and Guy Benson standing up for what's right, live and via podcast. Just click listen, then swipe right and hear the latest news updates on your time. And scroll down to hear the latest podcasts from Fox News. And it's even easier to listen in the car with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Get programming alerts and notifications. Fox News Audio is on the Fox News app. The voices America trusts. Download it now.
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
Given an extension. I'm Sasha Nixon. Here's what's trending this hour. Following months of contract disputes with running back Jonathan Taylor, the Indianapolis Colts have granted him a 3-year contract extension worth $42 million, ESPN reports. Taylor's future with the team had been in limbo between the contract disputes and his lengthy stay on the physically unable to perform list. But the Hoosier team also announced Saturday that Taylor has been activated. So Colts fans could see him on the field as early as Sunday when the team plays the Tennessee Titans. A corrections officer was sent to a hospital in Indianapolis Friday, Harrison Silcox reports.
It's because the officer was assaulted by an inmate in the Pendleton Correctional Facility. Other officers got the call on radio and provided medical aid at the scene. The officer was later sent to a hospital in Indianapolis. Neither the officer or inmate have been identified. State police are now helping out with the investigation, and the condition of the corrections officer was not reported as of Friday. Harrison Silcox, 93 WIBC Mobile News.
And it seems that Indy Mayor Joe Hogsett is recovering from his own injury. Mark Bodie, communications director for the mayor's office, says Hogsett fell while taking out the trash, busting his lip in the process. As a result, he had to get stitches and has been away from some recent public functions. Bodie says in the meantime, staff have advised him to no longer wear flip-flops to take out the trash. On the level, on the go, and on WIBC.com. Now here's the forecast from the American Standard Heating Weather Center.
Clouds will increase across the area. Wind gusts still around 20 miles an hour. Our low temperatures back into the upper 30s. And for Sunday, mostly cloudy skies. Can't rule out an isolated shower. On Wish TV, Storm Track 8 meteorologist Ryan Morse for 93 WIBC.
Hammer Nigel here for Window Nation. Fall is the best time of the year. There's so much to love about the fall, especially the return of Window Nation's best offer of the year. Get 2 windows free for every 2 you buy. Put no money down, make no payments, and pay no interest for 2 years. If your old windows are hard to open and close or drafty and leaky, take care of it now before the cold weather arrives. You'll be loving the new look and feel of your home, plus up to 30% off your energy bills.
You'll also love Window Nation's knowledgeable exterior designs and quick, clean, accurate, professional installation. Not to mention, you'll love the savings with this fantastic offer. Put no money down, no payments, no interest for 2 full years. And for every 2 windows you buy, you'll get 2 windows for free. But this offer will disappear as fast as the leaves on your maple tree. Call Window Nation right now. 866-90-NATION or visit windownation.com. That's 866-90-NATION or go to windownation.com. Tell them Hammer and Nigel sent you.
You let him try violin because you love him. And if you love him that much, love him enough to make sure he's buckled up and in the back seat. Find out more at nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Yeah, oh yeah, what condition my condition was in.
I woke up this morning with the sun down, shining in.
You're listening to Saturday Night on the Circle on 93 WIBC.
Brown paper bag, but then...
Welcome back to the show, ladies and gentlemen. Hour 2 of Saturday Night on the Circle with your host, Ethan Hatcher, the bespectacled curmudgeon. Thanks for tuning into the show. And producer Carl, beep, 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 pushing the buttons and doing the things to make the show function. Thanks for tuning in. You can find our podcasts uploaded to WIBC.com as well as Saturday Night on the Circle.fireside.fm. Plus, hop in the chat where we're streaming live on YouTube. I always love seeing your comments and things that you have to say during the show, and I try and respond to them when I can. Now, we had what I thought was a bit of breaking news, but I guess it's already wormed its way through the cycle. You just heard the top of the news update about Joe Hogsett allegedly busting his lip, taking out the trash because he was wearing flip-flops. This according to his city spokesman, Mark Bode, who sent out a statement last night about the incident, why he hasn't come to, the event. Supposedly, he's going to be at the debate this Sunday, but I'm a little bit skeptical about the whole story here and the validity that he just, was wearing flip-flops. Where did this happen is a question many might be asking themselves, producer Carl, and I speculate, I think I might know where Joe Hogsett might have been. You got any guesses?
At the bar?
Hanging out with his friends. Allegedly, in a far-flung space adventure. That's where, meeting up with the crazy wolf man in the corner. Probably gave him a fat lip over there. That's how that happened. No flip-flops involved. Just droids and space creatures for Joe Hogsnot. So yeah, that's the story that they are coming up with. They're sticking with it for better or for worse. With all of the rumors that are swirling about this character, and particularly where he might have been the night of the riots, his own, personal shortcomings, and then the state of his marital life with Mrs. Hogsett filing for divorce, and I guess they've now settled out of court, avoiding that inconvenient hearing 4 days before the televised debate on the 23rd. So yeah, he sidestepped that, but who knows? Okay, if you want to say that you got stitches while you were taking out the trash because you're wearing flip-flops, I guess it's a story you can stick with. But I, for one, am skeptical.
Story that KJP would believe.
Sure. It's probably one that she would come up with. Now, there was another big item in the news. I don't know if you saw the case of Furious George, Momo, the escaped monkey who made a break for it across an Indianapolis neighborhood. He escaped Wednesday evening, and inside of 24 hours, Animal Services finally, fortunately, caught up with him. But in the intervening day and a half that this monkey was on the loose, he became a national, nay, international news phenomenon, gaining the attention of the likes of Stephen Colbert, who had this remarkably unfunny monologue, but hey, got some attention for Indianapolis.
This one goes out to little Richie Dom, age 8, who loves nothing more than escaped monkey stories and refreshing ham sandwiches. In the Midwest, an escaped monkey has been running riot in an Indianapolis neighborhood. Clearly the result of the loss of habitat. When they built the Indianapolis Speedway, the native monkey population of Indiana was forced to adapt to their new environment. Momo, if that is his real name,
yeah, it's bad, isn't it?
escaped his home earlier this week and was spotted on some trees, and Momo's owner arrived and was trying to coax him out with a peach. Really? He didn't go for the peach? But peaches, the fruit monkeys are known for enjoying the most. We've tried the peach. We're out of ideas. What else would a monkey want? Should we try some kale? No, maybe something longer. Asparagus? What do monkeys love?
What happened to the state of late night television? It's cool to see Indianapolis mentioned, in the late night shows. But my goodness, the state of comedy is abysmal, and this is after the writers' strike has ended. And
yeah, I was going to say, I thought the strike had ended.
They're paying those people $10,000, but no, like $14,000 a week for that.
Yeah.
That's insane.
That's really bad.
That's terrible. And look, I understand. I am a remarkably dry, dull, unfunny person myself, but that was like squeezing blood from a stone. That was sad. And that's Stephen Colbert. That he has come a long way from his show on Comedy Central. I used to think he was kind of funny. Not anymore. Evidently, that was all the writing team. If that's what he comes up with, that's terrible. But the fact that Momo the monkey made international news for our city kind of reminded me of a relevant sketch from The Onion, produced nearly 13 years ago, but rings more true today than ever. I present Bullcrap News.
Which began just... In a desperate attempt to fill 24 hours of programming, here's some bullshit that happened somewhere today. We've got some footage here of the bullshit, which began just after 3 o'clock this afternoon, when residents in this neighborhood were shocked to see this fairly common thing happening. An attractive witness described the event in breathless terms.
I went to my window and I was like, whoa, there's some bullshit happening.
That happened right over there. I'm an older man, so you can trust what I say.
Authorities in special uniforms rushed to the scene to stand around while our cameras filmed them. Our reporter Keith Collins joins us now live from the scene of the bull through the use of expensive technology. Good to be with you again, Keith. We have a colorful graphic here that shows instances of bull like this are on the rise. Is that right?
Yes, although why is unclear. Some say it's because of one reason. Others say it's because of some other reason. I talked to this random expert on the subject who told me this thing you're about to hear him say right after he points at a piece of paper.
I spent my entire life attending the nation's most prestigious schools to talk about bull like this. I'm really just happy to be on TV.
meeting.
Now let's see if we can drag this out a little longer by showing emails written by some of our viewers. I once saw some stuff kind of like the you're talking about happen. I have nothing more to add. Another person says, I am angry that things like this happen. I get mad about every bullshit thing I see. So obviously a lot of opinions there to make this story seem somewhat meaningful.
Oh, absolutely, Glenn. This bullshit has some broader implications. Here's a list of tips on how to avoid bullshit happening to you.
And here's some footage of Congress.
Yes, I see that.
Well, thank you, Keith. Let us know if there are any updates on this bullshit story from there.
There's no way there will be.
Very good. We'll check back with you in an hour anyway.
I'm just some guy.
When we return, we'll look at live footage of a car chase taken from a helicopter and free associate about what's going on.
Producer Carl, live reaction. You've worked in television news before. Is this not basically the news cycle? Yeah. That is what the 24-hour news cycle has birthed. And it this week it was Momo, Furious George, the runaway monkey. But sometimes it's other just stupid bull crap that dominates the attention of the news cycle and steals our attention away from more important issues. And if anything, I think it's a desperate cry from the people for some respite from the nonsense of the day to day. And, so you embrace these relatively insignificant events in a desperate attempt to give your existence some kind of meaning. I don't know. Thanks for listening to the show. 93 WIBC, Saturday night on The Circle. Before we closed, I wanted to also bring you into this conversation I've been having with members of an Irvington neighborhood group about their self-proclaimed status as a food desert, which I think is nonsense, and it connects with Momo the monkey conversation because they have said that this is the Irvington monkey. Mind you, this monkey was seen nowhere near Irvington at any point. It made its way as far as Cumberland. When they finally caught up with it somewhere in the vicinity, I think of like 10th and Mithofer or thereabouts. I mean, like it was far out, not anywhere close to Irvington, about 4 or 5 miles away. But they're calling this monkey the Irvington monkey because of its proximity. But they also say that they're a food desert because the closest Kroger is 1.2 miles away from the town center of Irvington. And oh, yes, producer Carl, you say, well, that's relatively close. Aha! But that's where you're wrong, you see, because the definition, according to the United States government, of a food desert in America is a tract with at least 500 people or 33% of the population living more than 1 mile for urban areas or 10 miles for rural areas from the nearest supermarket, supercenter, or large grocery store, which means that they would have a grocery store every 2 miles in a residential area just to avoid the classification of food desert. This is nonsense. This is ridiculous. And of course, people cry, oh, well, what about the people who can't afford transportation? What about the rural people? Why is it 1 mile for a city center, but it's 10 miles for the rural? Oh, I guess they can truck it 10 miles on foot, but the city people can't. And then you bring up the, the alternative, the options that we have at our disposal now because this wonderful capitalistic, profit-driven society that we live in, where you can have your food freaking delivered to you. Kroger delivers. Walmart delivers, and they chime, but they can't afford to buy. They can't afford to have a car, so they can't afford to pay the delivery fee. Like, I don't know what to tell you. This is a transportation, automobile-centered society, and we cannot completely reconfigure how everything works just to satisfy a few people. Like this.
Everybody's a victim.
Everybody's a victim. And look, they are surrounded by no less than 3 options. There's a Safeway, there's a Kroger, there's an Aldi, and there may be one other small little store in the immediate vicinity. And then, of course, in Beech Grove, there's the world famous Beech Grove Walmart. Did the Walmart fights over there. But point being, you got options, and no one who lives anywhere around a major United States metropolis should consider themselves to be in a food desert. We live in an exceedingly opulent and soft society, and those state-driven definitions only fuel people's victim ideology.
Yeah, and I don't really see many people starving in the middle of the city.
Well, producer Carl, don't you know that obesity is also a sign of a food desert? Yes, I've had that said to me. Obesity is a sign of a food desert because they don't have access to nutritious foods that are provided in a supermarket. Blah, 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 blah. Just wanted to bring you into, the frustrating world of online discourse and ridiculous United States definitions. Irvington is a food desert. My backside. Thanks for listening to Saturday Night on The Circle, my opportunity to personally gripe on the air for a couple hours. Stay tuned for more. Up next, we have friend of the show, Rob Kendall, coming on the air, and we're going to celebrate the unexpected ousting of Kevin McCarthy once again. So nice, I thought I'd talk about it twice. Stay tuned.
We feel
Feel it as soon as you step out the door.
what you feel.
Bundle up. Feels like winter.
It could be more like summertime.
All the feels
It feels a little like winter.
Feels more like summer.
of fall.
It's kind of the clash of two seasons.
Weather, mornings, and afternoons.
The ebbs and flows this time of the year is so evident.
On your official fall weather station. 93 WIBC.
The future of joint pain relief is here. It's QC Kinetics, advanced regenerative medicine. Tony Katz here. And if you've been told more steroids or surgery are your only options, don't be so fast. Get a second opinion and learn more about how you can harness your body's own healing agents to attack that joint pain. QC Kinetics doesn't mask the pain. These treatments go to the very root of the problem, using concentrated healing properties placed directly in your joint to restore and repair that damaged tissue. No more pain in your knees, your hips, your shoulder, your back, with no drugs, no downtime, and no surgery. With demand so strong, they are expanding their hours at QC Kinetics to include Saturday appointments. Call the local medical professionals and get a free consultation today at QC Kinetics, the nation's leader in regenerative medicine. QC Kinetics is in Eagle Creek, in Greenwood, and now in Carmel. 317-559-PAIN. 317-559-PAIN. QC Kinetics. 317-559-PAIN.
Everyone's talking about Galaxy Concrete Coatings and their transformation. Like your neighbor Jerry.
When we first started looking for different options, we went to the internet. Really, we did choose Galaxy, and definitely happy that we did. We first had our front porch and our pool deck done. Decided we loved it so much, we had them out about 10, 11 months later to finish up and do our back porch.
Commercial or residential, 4 times stronger than epoxy, and it comes with a 15-year warranty.
The crews at Galaxy were great. They actually cared about my property, very punctual, knowledgeable, and just a great group of workers.
Galaxy Concrete Coatings works for any area like patios, garage floors, driveways, and around pools.
I'm 100% satisfied. It's not slippery and it's not hot. I was very impressed with the product. It's amazing that I don't burn my feet and my 6-year-old doesn't fall.
Click on GalaxyConcreteCoatings.com and remember to like us on Facebook, GalaxyConcreteCoatings.com. We are out of this world.
Hi, I'm Joe Wrights, former Colts offensive lineman.
And I'm Jill Wrights. Traumatic brain injury is so sad and so life-changing.
That's why we support a groundbreaking organization building a better future for adults living with a TBI.
Vilici was founded right here in Indiana, but what we are doing will affect families around the country, families struggling to support and lift up their loved one after a life-changing head injury.
Go to braininjury.me, that's braininjury.me.
Hi, I'm Ryan Blaney, driver of the Discount Tire number 12 Ford Mustang. Want to know what gets me through to the checkered flag? A quick pit stop to check my tires and wheels. No matter where you're driving, properly maintained tires can make all the difference in tough weather conditions and when it comes to needing safe stopping power. Book a safety check online to get your tires inspected at a local tire retailer or do a quick tread depth check at home.
A message from the U.S. Tire Manufacturers Association.
If I could be you.
And you could be me? For just 1 hour.
If you could find a way.
To get inside each other's mind.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
We've all felt left out. And for some, that feeling lasts more than a moment. We can change that. Learn how at belongingbeginswithus.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
The Phone Ready quiz from the American Academy of Pediatrics will help you decide if you and your child are ready for their first phone. Go to healthychildren.org/phone ready quiz.
Find the path to recovery that works for you. Learn more at cdc.gov/stopoverdose.
Who's the slimiest rat in the pack? Who's unlovable? Who's unlivable? Whose behavior is quite unforgivable? Who would stoop to the lowest and meanest of tricks in the book?
This is Saturday Night on the Circle on 93 WIBC.
Hello and welcome back to Saturday Night on the Circle. I'm Ethan Hatcher, your square peg in this round world. Don't miss the podcasts uploaded to WIBC.com. Plus, hop in the comments while we're live on YouTube. This week, in a shocking accidental act of accountability led by a small contingent of disenfranchised Republicans, Kevin McCarthy has been unceremoniously ousted as Speaker of the House for failing to live up to his phony baloney promises of curtailing runaway Washington spending. Here to help us speculate on who Republicans may burp up as a replacement next week, he's one half of the award-nominated broadcast phenomenon known as Kendall and Casey Show. The often off-the-rails Rob Kendall joins us in studio.
Ethan, I can't even begin to tell you how proud of you I was at the night with WIBC. You participated in the Thunder Beers Challenge, and you were, I did not anticipate you being able to perform the way you did, but you did marvelous.
What you don't know is there were years of practice solo alcoholism to back that up. So,
well, it all came in handy. I'm sorry for the years of torture you endured and whatever drove you to that.
It all led up to that moment of triumph there in the green room.
You did great.
What a phenomenal show. I loved the night with WIBC. Getting to meet with the fans is always a treat, and I thought the performance of all involved was top notch.
I thought it was great, best one we've done ever, and I just wanted to point that out before we talk about some other great performances by members of the U.S. Congress that you did a great job.
Thank you, man. The surprise showing this week by Matt Gaetz coming out of the proverbial left field to introduce a recall on House Speaker Kevin McCarthy, and then succeeding with a handful of Republicans, mostly joined by Democrats, but nevertheless, Kevin McCarthy gone as Speaker in a shocking act of accountability by Congress I don't think many really anticipated.
Well, wasn't it interesting? And the great thing about politicians is if you let them talk long enough, they'll show you who they are. Isn't it interesting that whether it's professional office hopper Aaron Houchin or Larry Bouchon or Mike Pence or any of the other good time fun gang here in Indiana and part of the delegation, they are more upset at Matt Gaetz for holding Kevin McCarthy accountable to the agreement he made than they are Biden and Pelosi and Schumer, who are actually destroying this country every single day. That's all Matt Gaetz did, is said, hey, McCarthy, you made this agreement of your own free will. No one forced you to sign on to it. You have not upheld your end of the agreement. I am now going to execute the authority that I have under this agreement to attempt to remove you. And these Republicans are just absolutely beside themselves because someone held them to account.
Well, let's not forget your old buddy Jim Banks, because he says, let's go. He's Jim Jordan all the way, as I understand it.
Don't you love a guy?
Broken clocks right twice a day.
Don't you love a guy who has executed just absolutely horrific judgment, and then within minutes of the finally having to pay the price for the terrible judgment, he's out there tweeting about how you should trust his judgment on the next person. Look, this is so people will say, why are you so mean to Jim Banks? Because Jim Banks had the clout to prevent Kevin McCarthy from being Speaker. If Jim Banks had come out after the third or fourth vote and said, we've tried this, we clearly don't have a consensus, we are done here, I am done here, he could have brought 50 or 60 people with him, and that would have been the end of Kevin McCarthy. Jim Banks made a calculated decision, because he wants to be a U.S. Senator, that the best way for him to be a U.S. Senator is to be on the good side of Mitch McConnell and the good time fun gang in the establishment, ultimately proving correct because Mitch Daniels chooses not to run. Holcomb Hupfer Incorporated endorsed Jim Banks. They're putting their thumb on the scale to try to keep poor John Rust from not even being able to run. And so he did the politically expedient thing rather than the right thing.
Politically expedient indeed. I noted a informal poll conducted by townhall.com for who should be the replacement to Kevin McCarthy. And far and away, the two leaders were Jim Jordan and Donald Trump. Most interestingly, I thought, now this is, again, an informal, I think it was Twitter poll, but likely conservative voters who are participating in this. And Jim Jordan edging out Donald Trump by 7%, which, he should. He has more bona fides, it was, I think, 47 to 40% Jim Jordan in the lead compared to Donald Trump. Steve Scalise, obviously a distant third. How does that stack up with what you think is likely to transpire when this vote takes place next Wednesday?
Well, Trump has endorsed Jordan. He can't actually run by their own rules because he's under indictment, and their rules clearly state you can't run for speaker if you're under indictment. But isn't it fascinating that in January, when people like me came out and said, Kevin McCarthy is going to be a horrible choice. He has no intention of following through on what he has promised, and you people are fools for believing this. Oh, you're just an agent of chaos, and you're just awful, and Jim Jordan would never want to be Speaker of the House, and blah, 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 blah. Here we are now. McCarthy has failed, so all the people, Jim Banks and all these other people who were all in on McCarthy, now it's, Jim Jordan would be a great Speaker of the House, Ethan.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting turn of events for sure that they all, coalesced around Kevin McCarthy, and I don't think that anybody who's serious that was paying attention in politics thought he was going to be a uniter of the Republican Party, nor was he going to curtail Washington spending. Jim Jordan, however, I think you've postulated, if he ultimately becomes the victor of the House Speaker position, might be a better trade. I don't know. I mean, anything's worth it, and at least a switch guarantees that something has the possibility to change.
Well, I have no faith in Jim Jordan because, keep in mind, he did vote for Kevin McCarthy for Speaker, so you have to question his judgment like everyone else. However, it can't be any worse than McCarthy.
Right.
It can only go up from here, and if you believed in Jim Jordan's voting track record, it's certainly markedly better in terms of government accountability, transparency, limited government, etc., than McCarthy. But the Speaker position, Paul Ryan was that guy before he became Speaker, and look at what happened to him. Remember, he was picked by Romney because he was the entitlement reform guy. He was the government accountability guy. He was the, spending controls guy. You got none of that when he was Speaker of the House. So the speakership has ways of doing weird things to people. Ultimately, Ethan, it comes down to this. And the question for Jim Jordan should be very simple. Are you willing to shut down the federal government? If the answer is yes, then you have a puncher's chance to get some meaningful reforms to the government. If the answer is no, then nothing's going to change because the only way you're going to fix this is to shut down the federal government.
Now, the other question I'd like you to reflect on is what would this potentially do if Jim Jordan wins to an impeachment inquiry that's currently being, Joe Biden is undergoing. Now, under Kevin McCarthy, I had anticipated him completely floundering and flip-flopping and weaseling out of the deal.
Oh, good, you too.
Right.
I was going to ask you, do you have any faith that the Republicans are going to impeach Joe Biden? I have none.
Well, not at the time, but what does a Jim Jordan House Speakership potentially do? Because he, more than any other congressman, has seemingly held the Biden crime family to account, and he's produced some, pretty powerful sound bites. Now's the opportunity to put up and shut up. Will it happen?
Well, that's a great question, right? Because the Republicans under McCarthy slow-walked this thing for as long as possible. Every time he gave a speech or a media inquiry on the topic, he sounded like Jihadi John was behind him with the knife, and he was blinking twice to let everyone know he was all right. He clearly didn't want any part of it. Now, Jordan certainly does want a big part of it. Head of Judiciary, obviously invested in it. So I think you're right. I think it probably makes it more likely. But here's the thing. He's got to be able to consensus build, and he's got to consensus build through strength. So what I mean by that is, and I found this out. Now I only had to flip 2 people. He's got to get 217 others in addition to himself. So it's a much bigger thing. But you can consensus build through strength. And what I mean by that is you can, by cult of personality or will of force or using the bully pulpit, you can get people to your side. You don't have to go into everybody and go, what's the middle ground on everything, right? You don't have to do that. You can consensus build to your side, and that's what he's going to have to do on impeachment, on federal spending, on entitlement reform, all of these things if he's going to be effective.
Consensus building, an imperative facet of leadership, which I'm glad you emphasized, and I circle back to Donald Trump's endorsement of Jim Jordan. Does that potentially alienate his ability to endear Republicans? Because, of course, Donald Trump, for better or for worse, is an infamous name in Washington circles. So does that potentially poison his ability to coalesce leadership?
You ask an interesting question because let's play this out. So with Kevin McCarthy, the argument the entire time was he's the only guy. You're never going to get blah, blah, blah elected. So you must vote for him or you could have a Democrat. Well, now it's sort of the switch, right? Don't the conservatives come and go, hey, look, you're going to have to vote for Jim Jordan because otherwise you're going to have Hakeem Jeffries as the speaker, and you don't want that, do you, Mr. Jim Baird? So I think this is going to be a fascinating exercise. Again, I'm not excited about Jim Jordan. I've seen too many times where we've had these people who have promised to be change agents or reformers or whatever, and they get in there and they wilt. But it can't be any worse than Kevin McCarthy.
Sure. But does the Donald Trump endorsement move the needle in any way, for or against?
No, I think ultimately it's going to come down to, hey, you've got Steve Scalise, you've got Jim Jordan. You're going to have to pick one of these two.
Is there a dark horse somewhere lurking in the far distance?
I think Jim Jordan is liked enough amongst his peers. He's not Gates. It's not Byron Donald. It's not Burchett. It's not any of these other rebel rousers who are deemed, it's not Marjorie Taylor Greene or Boebert. He's respected enough that they'll probably say, let's give him a shot.
Okay, it'll be interesting, and we'll be following every moment as the vote transpires next week here on WIBC.
And by the way, may I point out, you remain skinny and beautiful, Ethan, every time I see you.
I appreciate that, and I had to do that, to be on the stage at WIBC.
And you've never looked better.
Thanks for listening to 93 WIBC Saturday night on The Circle. Stay tuned for more.
Tony Katz.
I alphabetized my soundboard. Well, I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. F?
Fat, drunk, and stupid is no way to go through life, son.
I have to go to S for Sopranos. Makes sense.
Yeah, I think you got it.
It's so clean now. It's fantastic. Yeah, we have clearly run out of things to talk about. There's nothing else going on in the world.
It's a great world, everything's so.
This show is stupid.
Tony Katz, mornings 6 to 9 on 93 WIBC and WIBC.com.
Halloween is quickly approaching. You might be busy decorating your home with spooky sights, from witches and brooms to sheet ghosts and pumpkins. But what if something troubling is hiding right beneath your feet? You may notice signs in your home, from nasty smells, mold or mildew in your crawl space, cracks on interior or exterior walls, leaks or standing water, sticking doors or windows, heightened or worsening allergies and asthma, even when you're indoors, pests or bugs, uneven sagging or bouncy floors, drainage issues. It's time to schedule an appointment for Indiana Foundation Service trained and certified field inspectors to stop by and check out what might be causing the problem. They're here to calm your fears. Visit IndianaFoundation.com now to book your free inspection with no obligation quote included. Indiana Foundation Service. There's a reason they are the trusted local experts.
Indiana Foundation Service. Reliability from the ground up.
PA Jewelers in Brownsburg is your place for fine jewelry, custom pieces, one-of-a-kind pieces, vintage pieces, and also your place to sell jewelry. 3754 South Green Street in Brownsburg, PA Jewelers inside Premier Arms. You have old jewelry from grandma or jewelry you don't wear anymore? Come sell it for top dollar at PA Jewelers. I've sold jewelry there. My wife has. You're going to love the prices. PA Jewelers inside Premier Arms, 3754 South Green Street in Brownsburg, premierarms.com.
This is Dwight Freeney, and I've teamed up with Indiana Donor Network and Donate Life Indiana to get the word out about how you can save lives in your community. Did you know that more than half of the people waiting for a life-saving organ transplant are people of color? That's why I said yes to being an organ donor, because I want to help end the wait. You can help too. Sign up to be an organ donor next time you're at the BMV and talk to your family about your decision.
Fox News, I'm Pam Huso. Members of Congress are sounding off on the Hamas terror attack that caught Israel off guard.
We should send a clear message to our allies in Israel. We are with you. We stand with you. Do not give up. Do not give in. Do not surrender.
Senator and GOP presidential hopeful Tim Scott, President Biden pledging support to Israel.
President Biden in a statement saying, quote, the United States equivalently condemns this appalling assault against Israel by Hamas terrorists from Gaza. And I made clear to Prime Minister Netanyahu that we stand ready to offer all appropriate means of support to the government and people of Israel.
Fox's Lucas Tomlinson, hundreds of people on both sides have reportedly been killed. America's listening to Fox News.
Hey, it's Spencer Thompson at Thompson Furniture and Mattress in Columbus. Did you know we deliver for free? Yes, free, and we guarantee the best price. Delivery is white glove. It's put where you want it. It's assembled, and that's all within 75 miles of Columbus. Free delivery to Greenwood, Carmel, Zionsville, Westfield, Seymour, Franklin, Shelbyville. You name it, we'll be there. Thompson Furniture and Mattress in Columbus. Free delivery, the best price, guaranteed.
JMV here for Miss M's Home and Garden. It's the big fall sale at Miss M's Home and Garden and Sundown Gardens this week. 20 to 40% off nursery stock at Miss M's and Sundown Gardens. The nursery still has a large selection of container trees and shrubs. Visit Miss M's and Sundown Gardens to save between 20 and 40% off through the 15th of October. Miss M's Home and Garden on State Road 135 south of Whiteland Road in Bargersville. Sundown Gardens at 186th and Spring Mill Road in Westfield.
Do you need furnace or heat pump service? Do you need to find a well-trained dealer like Marshall Mechanical in Franklin? We'll find that American Standard Air dealer at IndyHomeComfort.com.
Over 2.8 million Americans have served in our military since 9/11. Many have returned home with devastating injuries and few resources for them and their families. This is news correspondent Bob Woodruff. I sustained a life-threatening injury while reporting from Iraq in 2006. The military had my back that day, and they have each other's while serving. It's time we had theirs. Please join us as part of the Got Your Six initiative. To learn more, go to gotyoursix.org using the number 6.
Uh-oh, Brad's buzzed.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he's starting with the woots. Good thing is, he knows when he's buzzed.
Know your buzzed warning signs? Call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
No Kid Hungry is providing healthy meals and hope to hungry kids so they can build better futures. Learn more at helpnokidhungry.org.
You're listening to Saturday Night on the Circle on 93 WIBC.
Welcome back, Indianapolis, to Saturday Night on the Circle, where we're following up on a case all the way back in April where a YouTube prankster in the state of Virginia met what jurors evidently felt was a justifiable encounter with another armed individual. Basically, the short of the story is he effed around and he found out. I'm surprised that this doesn't happen more often with these obnoxious YouTube clout chasers, poorly ran prank channels that end up getting people injured in pursuit of fame. In this case, it happened to Tanner Cook, who was 21, running the Classified Goons YouTube channel, harassing Alan Colley at the Dullestown Center Mall in Sterling, Virginia on April 2nd. Well, it only took 20 seconds for crap to hit the fan.
What?
Quit thinking about my twinkle.
What's that?
Quit thinking about my twinkle.
No.
Quit thinking about my twinkle.
Get out of my business like house Stop.
Quit thinking about my twinkle.
Stop.
And there it went.
20 seconds. It was 20 seconds from the moment Cook approached Coley before Coley pulled a gun and shot him. Coley's defense attorneys argued self-defense, and since this happened, the social media world has really gotten behind Coley, saying Cook was harassing him, a complete stranger. Now, you heard Coley tell Cook to stop a few times, but then pulled that gun and shot one round, injuring the YouTuber.
Boy, that escalated quickly. I mean, that really got out of hand fast.
It jumped up a notch.
It did, didn't it?
Okay, so obviously, in most circumstances, and we you know who would be great for a conversation on this issue would be gun guy Guy Relford, because as I understand it, self-defense is mostly limited, or I think exclusively limited, to when you feel endangered. Yeah, you know, in danger of death or serious bodily injury to yourself or a third person, which also allows you to step in. In this case, he argued that he was being harassed by this, I think, 6'2" YouTuber who's, almost as tall as I am, 6'4", so he's just a couple inches shorter than me. And evidently he felt threatened enough that he retaliated. The jury finding him innocent of assault in that instance. He was justified using self-defense, but he was ultimately charged with firing in an enclosed space. And if ultimately found guilty of that lesser charge, he could be in prison for up to 10 years. But of course, his lawyers are going to mount a vigorous defense. An interesting case, to say the least. And honestly, I'm surprised that doesn't happen to more of these YouTube pranksters who take those videos too far, and you screw around with the wrong person and you are asking for things like that to go wrong. Another character who is chasing the clout and being an obnoxious buffoon in the process is a character by the name of Johnny Somali. Have you heard of him, producer Carl?
Can't say I do.
Well, he's an up-and-comer in the YouTube streaming universe. Fortunately, he seems to largely be getting laughed off the platform because of his absolutely obnoxious and unacceptable antics, deciding that he is God's gift comedy, going and essentially bullying the people of Japan. He has done all kinds of crap, harassing people on subways, trespassing in construction zones, screaming at strangers, and making a mockery of the Japanese people and the country itself. Here's the kind of stuff that he's saying on the subway. And let me tell you, the people of Japan don't take too kindly to crap like this.
Yeah, Hiroshima? You know Hiroshima? Nagasaki? You know? Why you do this? Pearl Harbor? Hiroshima, Nagasaki! Hiroshima, Nagasaki. We destroyed it. Okay, what do you mean?
Where are you from?
You know where I'm from?
Where are you from?
I'm from America.
You're from America?
Yes.
So am I.
You're from America?
Yeah, you're being obnoxious.
You know what we do to you?
So he's saying we're going to bomb you again. He's screaming Hiroshima, Nagasaki on the subway. He's just screaming like Pearl Harbor in these people's faces. And yes, he has attracted enough attention in the country. He's been arrested a couple of times and re-released by authorities, but he has become a national pariah. He sent one of their Instagram stars, and they're in Japan, and sent her away crying because of her interaction with this nutcase. He's reinforcing negative stereotypes in the country, like all kinds of damage that this Johnny Somali is causing in the name of chasing clout, and it's ridiculous. He got cornered by a whole bunch of Japanese Utes, as they would say in My Cousin Vinny. The Utes cornered him and essentially forced him to apologize, which he did half-heartedly, and then used that to springboard even more content. So it just kind of shows, the state of social media and how you can get sucked into this spiral of worthless content just to get clicks and ad revenue, and that sort of thing needs to stop, to say the least. Like, especially Japan, such an orderly, polite country, and they don't know how to deal with characters like this. A dude like this would get his ass kicked anywhere else.
And he's lucky. In Japan, most people don't have guns. And
no, they don't. And also there are laws like in Japan that de-incentivize you from putting the smackdown on somebody else. Like, it's not like the game Yakuza. You're not running around Tokyo, putting the smackdown on people. That's not how this works. You think that the Yakuza Japanese mafia is around every corner, but that's just a Western stereotype. It's not the reality when you get to the country, and that's why this guy's ass is largely gone unkicked, unfortunately, despite these shenanigans in the country of Japan. However, there was a more lighthearted YouTube prankster, and this one, sticking it to the man, a cause that I often support. This time, creating a problem for the HOA. This was a Florida-based YouTuber who runs a channel about vehicle maintenance and other topics, who was fined more than $1,400 by his HOA for parking his $90,000 Ford truck in the driveway. That was beyond the pale. Now, here's the crazy hypocrisy of the ruling. You could park like a $1,000, junker Honda on your driveway, but not this $90,000 Ford, because the ordinances that you have in your HOA. And I don't know about you, producer Carl, but you will never ever catch me moving into an HOA. Now, evidently this guy didn't understand what he was getting into, but he feels trapped because he can't even sell his property for the next 2 years without incurring tax penalties. So he's essentially stuck having to deal with these nincompoops, making it very unfriendly for young entrepreneurs and homeowners to move into these neighborhoods. It's a nightmare. It's like a mini bureaucracy. And why would you invite that kind of encroachment in your personal residence? I will never know. I guess if you're thrilled with the HOA, you can, live there and deal with it. But this guy got his sweet revenge by paying the fine in a combination of pennies, dimes, and quarters, all mixed in 5-gallon buckets that was deposited to the HOA president. There was a minor legal squabble about whether or not it had to be accepted, and it was ruled in his favor. It was ruled in the YouTuber's favor. The HOA had to take it as legitimate payment for the fine, and that, don't get mad. Get even. Thanks for listening to Saturday Night on The Circle. One more segment to come, so stay tuned.
Kendall and Casey.
They found the aliens. The Mexican government whipped out these 2 alien corpses. 30% of their DNA is unknown. We found them in algae somewhere. This little corpse looks like something that Kev could make in about an hour.
Is that paper mache?
That's exactly what it looks like. They got some Mod Podge on there.
Kendall and Casey. Weekdays 9 till noon on 93 WIBC and WIBC.com.
To protect his family from disaster, Steve used his camera phone.
Done.
By taking pictures of his important documents, Steve can always have them stored online. Learn more simple disaster prep tips at ready.gov. A message from FEMA and the Ad Council.
Fall in Indy. And since 2001, Rhino Shield has been covering Indiana homes and businesses. Just ask Mike.
I was watching TV one night and saw the Rhino Shield ad, and I thought, well, if they can do a house, they can probably do a building.
And Rhino Shield's not paint, it's better.
So they came out and they gave me a price, showed me how the Rhino works, how it lasts, and how the guarantee works.
All right, Indy, get the 25-year guaranteed protection of Rhino Shield right now for 15% off the regular price.
They started on the building. They waited for us to leave, and they worked Saturday and Sunday so they wouldn't affect our business at all. This was the great part of it. I came back Sunday night, and you couldn't even tell they were here. There was no paint on the ground. They did a fantastic job.
Here's owner Shane Smith.
This offer is limited, so call me at 888-RHINO-41. That's 888-RHINO-41.
Don't paint.
Don't vinyl. Go Rhino.
Hey, don't vinyl. Go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
We put our lives on the line for our country. We braved the unknown. We did what we were told. And we lit up. Our cigarette packs were as valuable as the packs on our back. Maybe more. At one point, cigarettes were part of our daily ration. Smoke 'em if you got 'em. And boy, we were smoking 'em. Bumming a smoke was the norm. It was an escape from the reality of dirt, sweat, and forgetting how many days you were so far from home. Never had to worry so long as you had a light, and the smoking lamp was lit. If that was you then, get your lungs screened now. Surviving lung cancer starts with a scan. Learn more at screenyourlungs.org. And thank you for your service. This PSA was made possible by industry funding and guidance from lung cancer patient groups.
Hey, you got any gum?
Yeah, check my backpack.
What's this?
Oh, that's naloxone. It can reverse an opioid overdose. I decided to always keep it on me after my friend almost died. It saved his life.
Oh, wow. I'm so sorry. That makes me want to have it with me, too.
You totally should. Check the pharmacy. It was actually really easy to get, and it's easy to use.
I definitely will. Thanks.
Naloxone saves lives. Learn more at cdc.gov/stop overdose.
The Georgia Street Tailgate presented by Peterman Brothers is this Sunday, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. before the Colts-Titans game. Free entertainment on the Jack Daniels stage. Food and drinks for purchase brought to you in part by Jack Daniels, New Belgium Brewing, Hubler Auto Group, and the Veterans Administration.
You're listening to Saturday Night on the Circle on 93 WIBC.
Welcome back to the show, ladies and gentlemen. Wrapping things up here on a Saturday evening. And hey, it's always a pleasure to share the airwaves with you. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for hopping in the chat on YouTube. If you missed any of the show, you can find our podcasts uploaded to WIBC.com, as well as my podcasting website, Saturday Night on the Circle.fireside.fm. And we always thank producer Carl for his dutiful work on the board, beep, 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 pushing the buttons and doing the things to make the show function. Closing the evening with a warning to you Marion County residents that rent might be getting ready to increase again thanks to government interference, predictable as usual. This time in an effort to absolve the irresponsible from the consequences of their action. An eviction clinic was held last week where more than 200 people were able to file their paperwork to get the evictions off their record. This according to Amber Finley, the president of Marion County Bar Association, saying, "We've seen that there's a big barrier to access safe and affordable housing when you have this eviction record out there. So we're here to ensure that we can lift as many barriers as possible within the community." Yes, there is a barrier when you have an eviction on your record because it means that you're likely not to be responsible with your bills. That is important when you're moving into a long-term residential contract. As many of you know, I myself am a housing provider here in Indianapolis. I have several rental units, and if I wasn't able to determine accurately whether or not an individual had been filed against, then I would have to increase my rental price and also potentially the deposits to cover my losses caused by that. Like, you want to avoid renting to irresponsible people, and the interference from the city in order to so-called absolve these people, is going to end up precipitously increasing the price for everybody else, as is often the case with government interference of all stripes. It's just incredibly annoying. Now, fortunately, we can say there was a score one for the good guys because eminent domain was overturned along an expansion from US 31 and 256th Street. A beloved family farmers market, the Wilson Farm Market, has been there for more than 5 decades in Arcadia. And INDOT, one of the most reprehensible corrupt organizations you'll ever have the displeasure of dealing with, who constantly extract hundreds of millions of dollars from the taxpayer without producing measurable benefit to the city or renovating our atrocious roads. But they had claimed that they were going to use eminent domain to demolish this more than 50-year-old staple of the community and landmark off of US 31 so they could erect, get this, a cul-de-sac. Oh, wow. Yes, that was so necessary. And then INDOT, after outraging the community, and it was only fortunately due to the cacophonous cry of members within the town that this was overturned, because you have to hold government accountable and put their feet to the fire. And then INDOT admitted, like, well, yeah, I guess we didn't have to put the cul-de-sac there. We could put it somewhere else and avoid demolishing the farmers market. Like, damn well right, you should. Instead of taking the easy way out, the thoughtless way out, and confiscating a member of the community's property in order to force this eminent domain of a road expansion that was unnecessary and could be done in another way and achieve the same goal. Unfortunately, that brings the program to a close. Thanks for tuning in, as always, and I'll leave you with my parting words of wisdom. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, whoever you're with, remember that life is a state of mind. See you next time.